has already done this analysis. The question is, do you then open it to the public?
I think the public's ready. And what I have seen, because I reviewed the 1918 flu outbreak, I reviewed Katrina, where the governor of New Orleans said if she had better communication early on, she would have closed the city and saved lives. The CDC says this, the After Action Report of Washington, D.C. says this, and they all say, when people are confused as to who's in charge and who to listen to, and they get mixed messages like they're getting right now from the federal government versus California state, then in every past epidemic, you get thousands of people dead.
Yeah. And we kind of saw in New York to some extent, Cuomo's been on TV a lot. I've seen several of his press briefings. I haven't seen them all. But, Cuomo, now he questioned, he didn't close down New York State. De Blasio wanted to shut down New York City, and Cuomo said, no, it's a state power issue. I've got control of this. I will decide when we shut down.
Right.
And he shut down a lot later than de Blasio wanted to. But Cuomo has done a good job of saying, this is my authority, and I'm going to determine when to exercise it, right? So I think we can learn a little bit from him, right? He has been very clear, like, I determine when the state shut down. I don't see the data yet. And then, he eventually did make the decision to shut New York down. But he was very clear about the extent of his authority, constantly communicating that was his authority, and he was making the decision. So I haven't seen any conferences from Governor Newsom. I'm sure he's doing some because it seems like most governors are. But it would be good to communicate with people through that manner and say, this is where it's at. I'm in control. I'm making decisions for California. This is my authority, and this is where I'm at on my decision making.
Our governor right now is celebrating Donald Trump and saying very good things about him every possible chance he gets.
Yeah.
It disgusts me. I understand why he's doing it.
Yes.
He's trying to keep things moving, and he has to play with a child. So he's going to tell him everything nice he can, because that means everything he possibly can get from the feds, and he's worried about saving lives. Personally, it bothers the hell out of me. Professionally, I understand why he's doing it.
Yeah, but even with that, and I get it. We all see that dynamic, right? I mean, it's been clear. You cooperate. If you treat the Trump administration nicely, they're going to communicate with you more. I think Donald Trump basically said that without saying it in one of his conferences already. So I understand the political side of that. There's still room within that to say, okay, I'm in charge of California, and this is what I'm doing for California, right? So, and this is my authority, right? Now, don't say I'm planning to disagree with the federal government until you actually have to pull that card. But I think there's still room even within that confine to say, hey, I'm governor of California. I have the ability to shut California down. This is why I've shut California down, and I'll continue that policy until such time as I think it's safe to reopen things.
So it wouldn't be a bad idea for Governor Newsom to just make it clear, like, hey, if the feds say they're going to reopen the economy, no, we will have people at airports, seaports.
Well, I think I think the way to say it is, even the federal government has already shown it, right? Like, I'm the one and Trump said it. The governors are the ones that are in charge, right? So he comes out and says, I'm in charge. I'm making the decisions for California on this issue, and I'll continue to monitor and make decisions based on what's best for the people of California. So I think that's it. Then, he can determine on political wins, as we talked about, how far to take that, right? To say, based on current situations, that the federal government reopens, I'm going to, check people coming into California, and I'm going to, potentially have quarantines and other things.
People are scared.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've seen that reduces panic is clear lines of power and communication, and letting them know what's going to happen if X happens. So if X happens, we're doing Y. If Z happens, we're doing X. Yeah. People know it ahead of time. It's very clear. It's simple. And they believe that the government official who told them that will 100% do it, rain or shine.
Yeah.
And so it would seem to reduce panic and stabilize the markets of the world's fifth largest economy. Would it possibly be a good idea for Gavin Newsom to just get out there and go ahead and make some sort of announcement to the public and the investors and the global economy that We will be controlling the borders here in California no matter what for public health and safety, and we will be following CDC guidelines no matter what the federal government says. Or should he leave it open to interpretation, wait till it happens, and then we have the chaos and panic, stock markets thing, people leave, they accidentally die because of the confusion?
Yeah.
Which one's the best move right now? And does he have the political justification to go, I'm going to make it real clear.
Right.
We're in charge no matter what.
I think if people are confused right now, and this is a confusing system, right? I mean, how long do we spend talking about the interplay of the states and the federal governments and long histories of commerce clause cases and what's interstate commerce, what's not interstate commerce? These are complicated and confusing issues that lawyers are still litigating to this day, right? I mean, we had a case a year and a half, 2 years ago about sales tax, right? What's interstate commerce? What's not interstate commerce? Can internet sales from one state to the other be charged sales tax, right? So there's still very bright lawyers spending hundreds and thousands of hours litigating over the extent of these clauses, right? So there is some lack of clarity, but there is stuff that's also clear, which is that whole line of articles that were legally informed that you read, where it says health and safety is in the state government. That's pretty clear. Right? The federal government can only reach into the states so far. That's pretty clear. I think it would be good, to the extent there's the confusion you're talking about, to just communicate with people and say, look, we, the state government of California, are in charge of the health and safety of California, and we're monitoring the situation, and we're going to, use orders and do what we can within the state government to keep the people safe. And by the way, the extent of our power is pretty broad. Right? We can close things down. We can do a lot of different things under our state law system and without the federal government intervening. I think to clarify the point of authority, like you say, that would be a good thing.
We had the sanctuary states issue a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And I bring that up because California implemented sanctuary states. Trump goes on TV, says, hell no, terrifies millions of Californians. They start doing random ICE arrests. People are terrified. And then Javier Becerra, or I say Xavier because Professor X, X-Men, he helped people. It's my generation, okay? So our Professor X, Attorney General, Javier Becerra, goes on TV and says, I'm Attorney General. I interpret the law at the governor's will, and if the governor wants to fire me, that's fine. But until that time, I'm top lawyer. I say what the law is. We are having sanctuary cities. Californians, you are expected to do this, or there will be repercussions. Businesses in California, you will follow California laws, or there will be repercussions. Interesting thing, that created calm with the people, law enforcement, and the business. But it wasn't completely clear constitutionally he had the ability to say that. And there were multiple lawsuits, and a couple of the things that Becerra said were overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court 2 years later. Mm-hmm. Now, I got to guess that as a lawyer, he knew damn well that what he said was not settled case law.
Yeah.
But he said it anyways to calm people down and say, we will protect our people. Is now another good time for the law leaders in California to make it clear that in undetermined case law where they're going to stand in order to calm down panic as they did a few years ago?
I think it's good. I think clarity is good, as we've talked about. And I think, and that's where it gets tricky, right? Because to the extent you make a statement and you say it's a fact and you end up learning that it wasn't a fact, that does undermine your credibility down the road. So I think you have to be measured about how you do it. But I think, to go out there and say, this is what we plan to do, this is where we think the law lies, and this is why we think we can do it, I think that's perfectly fine. And it may be one of the cases where you carefully lay your I wouldn't say reservations, but you carefully lay out the fact that, hey, we understand this is still open to interpretation, it's still evolving, but we're taking the position that this is where we're at, and we believe we're authorized, and so this is how we're going to act, right? Just to give people the clarity of what direction things are going. And the truth is, even with a federal challenge,